back. We're live. So great to have you with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. My name is Brandy Rainey, and I am just privileged to be a consultant for Enlightened Healing and to be here with my great friend and mentor in healing and using essential oils, Amanda Porter.
Hello.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you guys can hear us. Hope our connections are going well. Looks like everything is good, so we will go ahead and get started. So thank you again so much. We appreciate you being here tonight and for taking the time out of your busy lives and businesses and families to spend some time with Enlighten. We're going to just share with you for a few minutes some of the new products that we have developed and brought to light since doTERRA's convention just a couple weeks ago here in Salt Lake City. And also walk you through the process of using our tools to help your friends and your family, to help you as you do consultations and if you do workshops and classes, how you can actually best utilize those tools in your own businesses to share essential oils for emotional healing. So let's go to Amanda. Tell us what's new. What's new online?
All right, thank you, Brandy. We're just really excited about everything that is new this year. Obviously, the new book, new cover, so Emotions and Essential Oils. This is the 6th edition, and it was just released at convention. So we're excited about this. And you know what? This is the foundation of understanding what the essential oils do emotionally. So if you're new to this book, even though it's been out for 6 years, this has a description for every single oil. So every single essential oil has an emotional description in it, and it tells you about the emotional properties of every oil. And so we use this as our basis kind of reference guide. But this year it's really exciting. We're so excited because there's actually 12 new oils in the book this year. So we have all the new oils that came out at convention and then the new ones that came out throughout the year. And the new descriptions are in here. So we'll have to check some of those out as we go along. But this also has really some updated resources that are really helpful. So we have updated some of the information on the 5 stages of healing. We have questions about that like all these years. So we put a little bit more information in about that. There's also kind of updated references. Everything received additional properties. So we did the negative emotions and positive properties. But this year, we also added companion oils and suggested uses. And for those of you who've been customers for a long time, you know that this was in several years ago. And this has all been updated to be compliant. And so we added these things back in. And the companion oils, for those of you who are unfamiliar, companion oils are what we listed that go along with similar sort of emotional states. So you have, they just cause you kind of deeper reflection and you can broaden maybe what you're thinking and realize some things that might go together. So that's what the companion oils are for. So if you read it, say Melissa, and you resonate with it, we also recommend, hey, you should read frankincense and copaiba and some of those things that will go along with that oil.
My understanding too on companion oils is sometimes we just don't necessarily love their fragrance or they just don't feel right for us. And sometimes, the instance of Melissa, we just don't have it.
Right.
Melissa is expensive. So I love that. It gives me an option if I just don't have something right in front of me or if I don't have something with me or if I'm working with somebody who doesn't own Melissa, I can give them some options, a different oil that they can choose to use that would be similar.
Absolutely. So Melissa's dealing with light, and if you get people who are really in heavy states, despondent, sort of despairing, and you think, and then you find Melissa and you think that's perfect, I don't have it, what do I have to give? You would look at the companion oils, and there's peppermint and lime. Those are also really buoyant oils that open the heart and help people through at a fraction of the cost of Melissa. So it's good to know what your options are, things to support emotionally. Also, there's suggested uses back in here because sometimes you just don't know, where should I apply this oil? So we just gave you some suggestions so that you can be guided in that. Of course, we encourage you to use your intuition and feel it out, but there's some suggested uses about where to use it in here. Also, we have some updated descriptions this year. There were just some oils like lavender that we updated and expanded the descriptions. And it really is, it doesn't change their emotional purpose because that doesn't really change. But we just felt like it needed a little bit deepening and kind of expanding about lavender's emotional purpose because there was just a little bit more that felt like needed to be expanded. And there's so many The oils, you could write books about each one. But sometimes as we learn and we go and we use the oils, we realize that we may know something that we haven't shared, or that it might be something that you could expand on. And so, for example, with lavender, we talked a bit more about its calming properties, because the root reasons behind why it works for the communication and opening up and being in touch with what's going on with you and what you really want to say and feel are also some of the root causes behind why we can't calm down and we don't identify what's going on. So that's just an example of some of the oils that are existing. We updated 4 this year and just kind of refined them and shaped them, but they haven't really changed. But there's some additional information that you might want to check out.
For those of you who don't get to hang out with Amanda all the time, or who are like me, I am learning about essential oils. I've been helping with Enlighten for about 1.5 years, and so I'm growing and learning every day. But it's always just a fun experience. But we were just with a group of friends and some other people just after a convention, and there had been the announcement that one of the furs was being discontinued.
White fur.
White fur is being discontinued. And I was just watching Amanda. She was working with Vanessa Jean, who is one of our partners in one of the other products that we launched. And Vanessa said, oh, she was just mourning the loss of white fur, obviously, and what are we going to do? Where's this replacement? And Amanda said, I believe that Douglas fir has room to expand. And it was just interesting and quite honestly, like awe-inspiring to sit there and watch that conversation take place and to recognize that there is room for, just like we as humans change and evolve and expand, that oils, not that they take on different qualities, but that those qualities are revealed to us, or that we start to learn about them in different ways. And then also just the process like of creating the wheel, physically creating the wheel and designing the wheel as we're adding new oils every single year that have real specific emotional qualities or real specific ways that they support. It allows the other oils to shift because maybe they were like a secondary player in supporting an emotion before, and now there's like the real heavy hitter that's available. So then the other oils can kind of move and accommodate each other. It's fascinating. So it's an incredible process.
It's really great that you pointed that out because, for example, one of the ones that came in as a heavy hitter was spikenard. Spikenard is all about gratitude, and there's some other oils that deal with gratitude, but spikenard is like a primary focus and purpose of that oil. And so when that came in, any oil that had something to do with gratitude had to shift because spikenard really holds that space. That's spikenard, and so that had to be front and center. And also, you mentioned the furs. All furs, it's part of the plant family, deal with generational and family type issues. And they can be more specific about stages of life and that kind of a thing. It depends on the tree. But Douglas fir is generational wisdom. And so there's so much there that could be expanded that was holding a place by white fir. And so when we write about it, we try to explore some of the other aspects of it that are complementary. But absolutely, there's so much there with Douglas fir about generational healing. And so they can expand it. And also, we're limited in what we just offer, but page-wise and all of that. And so there's a lot of learning. And as we learn and as we grow and as things shift, we update the book every year to help reflect some of those changes with the new oils and also with existing oils and how they play together.
So can you remind me, there's 4 that have updated descriptions in this edition. Lavender.
So lavender and birch, and also women's blend and Roman chamomile received a little bit of an update this year. So those are the 4 that just got a little bit of refinement. They didn't change totally. And obviously we've got the blue tansy and the copaiba and all those new ones, and also some regional specific oils, which are pretty fun, and maybe you'll love them enough, we'll get them in the US. But those are the major changes to the book this year, except I did want to point out one thing that we came out with and also updated, and that is as you're working with people, sometimes people just don't know how they feel. And if you have this book and this is your main reference for emotions, there is an appendix called Appendix A. I don't know if you can see that, I hold it still. But it's called Decoding Emotions. And it really goes into helping people identify their symptomatic experiences with emotions. And so this is a great chart This year it's been updated to be a little bit easier to understand, and it talks about fear and how that sort of manifests in physical symptoms sometimes and behavioral indicators. And then it helps them to get some words where you're expanding the vocabulary of their emotional experience, because we're not taught this. You have to learn your emotional vocabulary. You have to learn to expand that, and to also, it really takes practice and just practice to try to identify the sensation that you're having, because we have broad categories. Oh, I'm angry, I'm afraid, or I'm sad. But you can drill down into those categories, which is going to lead us to our next product, and get more information about what specifically you're feeling, because rage is very different from resentment, but they both are under the anger head, for example. So it helps you just start to build. The appendix has been updated, all cross-referenced and everything. The emotions appendix just has tons and tons of words for you to identify with, and the oils that go with those words. So you can really drill down as much as you want into understanding it.
For me, learning to work with the tools, first of all, I love that appendix that she pointed out that gives you a little bit of reference in terms of what the physical manifestations are, because I'm learning from working with Enlighten that really any sort of disease or any sort of physical ailment that we have is usually driven by an emotional need or an emotional lack, or something that we're dealing with emotionally manifests itself physically. And a lot of times people will have, for example, a tightness in their chest. And I'm learning that a tightness in their chest has to do with, maybe it's being open or being receptive, or maybe they're carrying a heaviness of some sort. But it's easier for us to say that than to say, I feel heavy, or I feel despair, to say, I feel a shortness of breath, or I just feel heavy, or my hands, or whatever physical manifestation is there. It's easier for us to communicate that. So it's a great reference and it's a tool. And if you're like me, I never read the appendix, you've got time for that. It's good. Read the appendix. They're really helpful tools. And the other thing that I wanted to say too, for me, again, in learning how to figure out how I'm feeling, work through what my emotions are, work through what my needs are, I do just read the book and open up the back into the index and just read the different types of emotions that exist, because it helps me give vocabulary to what I'm feeling. I didn't even, like resentment, I wasn't thinking about resentment, but maybe I do have a piece of that. And so, a lot of times we think when we come to the book, we need to know exactly, either I'm researching what does this oil do for me emotionally, or I have this specific emotion, what oil do I need? But the tool can also help you get to that point, I guess, is the point that Amanda's making. So don't ever feel like you can't just pick it up, open it, and browse through. You'll be really surprised what your intuition will help you to pick up and garner from using the book that way as well.
Absolutely. Really, because we don't always know. And this is just a great tool as a reference guide to use to help us understand our emotions and how essential oils can work with those. So there's so many ways to use it. We're not going to go over every one, but it really is sort of your staple resource, regardless of how you're using it. So that's the updated 6th edition, and it's got a lot of great stuff. But also, whenever we update the book, we update the wheel. So this is the updated emotional properties wheel, and it goes obviously companion to everything that's in emotions and essential oils, because it has a positive property and a negative property for every single oil. And the way that works is, for just a little quick primer for those of you who may not be as familiar, but basically the positive properties wheel lists the positive emotion for every single oil, like we said. And this is the side that you look to when you want more of something. So if you would like to feel more abundant, if you would like to feel more joyful, if you would like to, those kinds of things, you can go here and find some of the oils that can support you in that process of reclaiming that state for yourself, of coming to balance. And so that's what this side is for. Alternatively, the other side is the negative emotion side. So this is what you want less of. You're already experiencing this, and you don't want to feel so much of it. So this is your anger, your sadness, you're overwhelmed, and that kind of thing is on here, so you identify your emotional state pretty quickly. And that's where we made this, is really a reference, because obviously you don't get the full information from this, but it's a quick identifier. And you can obviously then go read the book and learn more about that state and how that oil can support you through that state. But this is just a really quick. You can simply flip through the wheel, find what you're looking for, and you know which oil to grab. So that's why we created this. And again, all the oils are on here, so this is updated from the convention in 2017.
Yeah, for me, like this one, I'm going to say it 100 times because I'm new. Like my confidence in talking about my emotions, or even talking with my friends or my family about their emotions, is, it's not there yet. I'm not like Amanda. I'm not trained. I'm not a facilitator. I'm just learning about all of these things. To me, to have this is like my gift, because it allows me to have a vocabulary that I need, and also whoever I'm talking to have the vocabulary they need to really communicate what they're feeling. And a lot of times, when you're talking emotions, people get overwhelmed. They don't know how they're feeling, and then sometimes they're embarrassed about how they're feeling or ashamed about whatever they may be feeling. And this communicates for you. It allows them to just really zero in. So you can say to them, okay, well, you just told me that you're feeling overwhelmed. So they go here on the inside of the wheel, and then inside overwhelmed, just as Amanda was saying earlier, you got this concept of being overworked, or just some generational burdens, or you're carrying something from your family. Do you have negative family patterns? Is it fatigue? Are you stressed? Do you feel unappreciated? There's so many subcategories under that allow not just us to figure it out, but if you're working with somebody else, it really helps them to figure out what they want to talk about or what they want to work on as well. So to me, this is like a vocabulary lesson. And then I love the idea of having positive properties, because again, it's a little bit scary to come, to approach somebody and say, well, talk to me about how you're feeling. What negative things can I help you overcome? But instead you can say, what would you like to bring into your life? Because it's the opposite of feeling overwhelmed is feeling peace. So let's talk about things in the positive and say, let's invite peace. We don't have to address what's going on with your overwhelm or your fear. Let's just talk about peace and how we can get to that point as well. So
no, really good points, because I guess that's the thing too that I want to point out about the wheel is that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be feeling like you have to diagnose people if they come to you with feelings. That's not, this tool is to help you say, how are you feeling? What do you want to invite in? What do you want to let go of? And it empowers the people you're working with to really self-identify, to choose for themselves what they are, what they need, where they are, what feels right to them. And so it takes a lot of the pressure off of you as the person sharing. You don't have to know their answers. You just use the tools and they will find them themselves, and you can facilitate the essential oil process. And you don't have to be something that you're not. You don't have to feel scared to share. The tools are there to kind of do the work for you. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in this next product.
Yes. But I have one question.
Oh, do yes. Okay.
This is like, I should have asked it earlier when we were talking about updating product descriptions, but the number one question that gets asked of Amanda and of me and of anybody else who's related to Enlighten is, where do the oil descriptions come from? So let's address that, and then we'll get into this this idea of a process and how you actually use the tools to help somebody. So Amanda, where do the oil descriptions come from?
So just so you know, because we get this question, number one question, I put the answer in the book this time. It's the introduction to the single oils, and it explains the process.
It's on page 21.
Page 21.
But I told her she has to tell you anyway.
Yeah, I can't just read it to you. But the simplified version is that we always start with research on the plants. So it always starts with the plant's properties, because that's where the essential oils come from. So there's botanical properties, chemical properties, medicinal properties. There's plant family characteristics. There's so many things, even from cultivation on, and then of course we said medicinal uses about how it's been used traditionally, what the current research is on properties in those oils, because how that's showing up physically, as Brandy mentioned, there's always an emotional component, always. And so to every physical symptom, every physical indicator, there's an emotional component. And so that information drives a lot of the process where you're looking at physically what's known. And then there is some really great research starting on the emotional properties and benefits of essential oils, but we've kind of been pioneering this before that was popular. And so we had to take a lot of this information and distill it down ourselves. And we still use that same process where you have just mass amount of information from your research, from your experience with the oil, and you have to distill that down. And at some point, you have to sort of choose the primary characteristics that you're going to highlight for that oil, because again, you could write a novel on it, but what are we going to highlight? And that's an interesting process. And the easiest way I can distill it for short time is to say that a lot of that distilling is energetic and intuitive, because you just have to feel what's right to come forward. When you could write a novel on something, but you have to present it in a simple way. And that's what we end up doing, is really following, what do we do with this? How do we present it? And that's how we choose, is to bring it forward in this way that feels right for us and for that oil. Mm-hmm. And that's why sometimes things can expand, because there are primary characteristics that are dominant. There's also sub-characteristics and that they have, and you're trying to bring forward the most primary characteristic and give voice to that. And so that's the process. In the end, you have to sort of trust yourself, that you're offering the best of what that plant can offer and capturing its essence, because it can really do so much. They're very dynamic. So that's the kind of short answer.
It's magic. It really is. It's, foundation in science and understanding the chemistry and the biology and just the scientific foundations of the plants and what they do and how they've supported civilization forever. But then also understanding that, there is space for intuition and there's space for introspection. I think it's wonderful. To me, that's what essential oils do for me as a person. It just forces me to sort of create some space for things to be bigger and more meaningful and more impactful than perhaps they seem on the surface. So anyway, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, good question.
I will let you proceed. So question number one always is, where do the oil descriptions come from? And then I think question number two generally is, people love Enlighten's products. We just were at doTERRA's convention, and there were about 35 or 40,000 people here in Salt Lake City, and we set up a little booth where we were, showcasing the products, and it was so fun. It just, people were coming and sharing their experiences, and everybody's looking for the book and clamoring, oh, this is the one. And they love it. But as I talk to people, a lot of them don't know exactly why, or they wanted me to tell them, okay, am I using this the right way? So that's the second question really is, okay, I understand that I love this and I understand that it works. For me in my life, am I taking full advantage of it? Am I using everything that's there for me? And then if I want to share with somebody else, how can I use the book? And so that's what we really asked Amanda to prepare. So she's going to go through what we call a process, and that is helping somebody to identify an emotional need that they have and then an oil to support it. And as part of doing that, she will show you how to use all the Enlighten tools so that you'll be able to do it yourself at home.
So because we were doing this, we decided to come out with our second TerraPad that we released, and it's the Finding Solutions for Everyday Problems TerraPad. And it really helps to simplify this process so you don't have to feel like an expert, like we talked about. You can just use the tools and walk people through this process. And it starts with just really simple overview about the science of emotions, how emotions are created in the first place in our brains. And we created this really simple process called the emotional response process. This was from one of our previous TerraPads as well. So this process has just been adapted, and it really goes through the process of creating emotion very simply, from the trigger to our interpretation to the emotional response, the chemical response, and the physical response. So people understand the key to this, because people are afraid and they're unsure, is to give them some validation and basis that their emotions are a biological chemical process. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to experience it. We're designed this way. So you can feel how you're feeling. No, really, you can.
You're not broken.
You're not broken. So that was kind of that, let's just get that out of the way. Let's help you have the conversation with people in a way that's non-threatening. You're not asking them for their life story, but you're giving them some validation so they're ready to look at what they might need to support them right then. Then we move on to the science of aromatherapy works in the same way. So again, instead of a trigger, there's a stimulus. And essential oils, the aroma molecules create that same stimulus. And it walks through the same process. It goes to the brain. There's an emotional response, a chemical response, and a physical response with aromatherapy. And that's how essential oils play. And it's the very same process. And that's how they can even affect emotions. So we're sort of helping them understand the process so you can do this for them really, really simply. One page, lots of pictures, I promise. It's really easy to understand. Then on the back side, because this is sort of the education side, on the back side is the experience where you actually walk them through what to do themselves. Again, you're empowering them to find their own answers. And how this starts is that you ask them, just identify how you're feeling right now. Is something keeping you up at night? Is there something you're struggling with? Is there something constantly kind of recurring in your thoughts so you keep mulling over or worrying about? And they just start to identify, oh yeah, you know, there was this argument I had with this, or I'm worried about that, or money, or something, and they start to self-identify just kind of what's going on with them. And there's a place to write this down so they can start taking notes on the tear pad. And then you use the wheel, like I said, really simple identification with what's for people so they can just see what's happening with them without having to know what's going on. So then we use the negative side of the wheel, right? So we've got the emotions that they are identifying. And we start with the core emotion, which is the inner circle, this kind of small circle right here that we talked about. Has the bigger categories like anger. I don't know, I'm just angry all the time. I'm just constantly yelling at my husband or my kids or traffic, or I find myself in problems, you know, so I can identify with these core emotions that most people are more used to identifying. Then you go to the third column, which is the second category on here, and drill down. This is where they drill down for themselves and identify those emotions. So like we talked about, if it was anger, they can get on here and say, you know, I'm feeling resentful. I know I'm not forgiving this person for what they said to me, and I'm holding on to that. And they can drill down and get some real specifics on their state and write that down. Then as you go out from the center to the outside of the petal are the essential oils that go along with those states. So basically, they find the emotion, identify it, and in this quick, easy process, they can write down the essential oils that are matching their state really clearly. And then after they get that, they write this down. It's all, like I said, you know, there's little spaces for them to fill it out. They move on from the wheel to the book. So now they have a few oils written down, you know, 3 to 5, something. You don't want to kind of get as many as you possibly can. You want to drill down and say, no, I think these 3 emotions, these 3 oils go with them. I think this is where I'm kind of feeling it.
Yeah, so they would go, so anger, and then they're going to identify from anger. Well, it could be resentment, or it could also be frustration or whatever. So that is where they will get the 2 or 3 different oils, so that they're making sure they're identifying that specific emotion that's associated.
Right. And just so you know, at like the seminars and things that I give, people will just sit there and read the whole wheel. They'll just take a minute and read the whole wheel and things, and there's no wrong or right way. The words are on there, they're a guide. They'll find something that resonates with them. They don't even have to know right away, well, would that be under stress or overwhelmed or people will sit there and just flip through it. It doesn't take that long time, so it's a really good thing to just say, it's on here, write down 3 or 4 things that you identify. Then when they have that, and they have the oils written down, how do they connect to that information? Where do they go from there? That's where the book comes in. Because for those of you who have read the oil descriptions, there's something really powerful about that process. And if that oil is right for them at that time, if it's right for you or me, it resonates. And so you don't have to do anything but have them read the oil description. And what I always tell people is, okay, so go to, you know, we used Melissa earlier. You go to Melissa, you read it, and then is there a word? Is there a phrase? Is there anything that resonates with you? And then again, there's a spot for them to take some notes on that. Down here, the essential oil and their notes from it. So they can kind of say, oh, releasing, forgiving, anything that resonates with them through the process, and really just allow time for people to read the information and let it resonate. This is one area you don't want to over direct. And you want to let people have their own experience with it, because what will happen is that out of the oils that they've chosen, 99% of the time, something is going to resonate emotionally. And then your job is done, because they know that they need that oil to support them in that emotional state. And that's how you use the tools when you're trying to share with other people. There's no effort. It just comes to them and it comes to you, and you're just there to offer support. You're just there to say, I have these tools if you need these tools. And then of course it goes through some basic, aromatherapy, make sure you apply them and inhale and that kind of thing. And that's it. Then you have people have a full introduction. They feel safe, they feel understood, and they have tools by the end of that sharing. And it uses it all together in a way that you can do it very simply without a lot of prep or hard work or effort. That's really what I want to stress, because sometimes people won't broach the subject because they feel overwhelmed by it. And we don't want you to feel that way.
I think, I often find myself talking about some of the additional products that we put together for Enlighten as bridge products, because the mission of Enlighten is to really empower people to feel better emotionally themselves and to overcome whatever issues that they might be facing, or to bring whatever positive new states that they want in their lives, to be able to be empowered to bring those things. But a lot of times as wellness advocates, we find ourselves in a place where people are coming to us with questions. And again, as we've said, we feel underqualified a lot of times to be able to talk to people about their emotions. And a lot of times they feel a sense of insecurity, or a sense of judgment, or whatever it may be. They're afraid to open up. And so our goal really is to put together these bridge products that allow you as an advocate to just help your friend or your family member or your client or whoever it is to get closer to their experience. And I love what Amanda said about, it's not about you telling them, it's not about you knowing every single oil and its emotional qualities. It's about you putting tools and resources in their hands so that they can figure it out themselves. I think that's wonderful. And so we put together the Tear Pad really for people who are having like a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and maybe they are in the middle of a wellness consultation and they're talking about, physical needs. And if you want to, get into the realm of emotional needs as well, this is a great piece that you can use. You don't need to use this piece. You can ask those same basic questions even if you don't have the Tear Pad. It's, what are you struggling with right now? What's keeping you up at night? What are some things that you'd like to address? Okay, well, let's give it a big name, a big title. Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it worry? Okay, well, let's dig a little bit deeper and let's see if we can get a little bit closer into the specifics behind that. And then, okay, let's make a list of the oils we need to research. So you can do that without having the tool. The tool just can help remind you if you're not comfortable with it. And of course, it's always great to get a scientific background on that. I lost my train of thought, but that was good. It's about tools.
Yeah, I think that's really good, because the other thing too, again, because you might be working with somebody, you have your reference book open for the physical things, and they come to you and say, hey, I have this pain all the time, and I just feel tense, and I need something for my muscles. And you can read about an oil for the physical properties to go with that, and they might go, okay, thanks. And but not be kind of engaged. I didn't want to say convinced, but just not engaged in that, not connecting to that. And so they just need something more. And you can kind of feel that they're kind of not there, but not there. And a lot of people in that moment, because they found the oil that they feel like, well, this would really help with that, they'll have them read the emotional description for that oil and just let it sit. Does that resonate with you? And our experience is that so many times, many more times, exponentially larger than they will resonate with a physical issue, they'll resonate with the emotional component, and actually then start to put that whole mind-body connection together, and understanding that these things are connected. My tension, my feeling overwhelmed is actually all connected, and they start to have, and they can offer them sort of this holistic approach to your advocacy to help them get their full wellness experience. And it's just a really non-threatening kind of way to use this information to empower people to have whole healing. Because usually people come at this physically first, and these are just tools to support you in trying to help address the whole person. So I appreciate you saying that, because I think that's really important.
Well, and the wonderful thing about it is too, like at the end of the process, I've identified a solution. I go all the way through, I read 3 or 4 oil descriptions, I'm gonna find the one, it just happens that they find that one that resonates with them, and then you can give them the solution and they walk away with it. It really is that simple. And so I think it's great, and again, not to just, back on the TerraPad, but I think, for me, somebody who's learning to talk about this is a great way for me to facilitate a one-on-one conversation. You could certainly also do a workshop around this. You could, have a class of 10 people or a webinar like ours and just empower people, as long as they have access to the tools to say, and it can be simple. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to help you overcome all of your stress and you'll be perfectly happy tomorrow. No, it's simple things like, let's find a solution to everyday problems. Feel better tomorrow than you did today. Come to my workshop. I'm going to talk to you about aromatherapy. Simple, easy ways. But then you could certainly, pass this TerraPad around, or a piece of paper or notebook, walk people through the process as a group, but they're having their own individual experiences because they're just writing their answers, researching on their own, and finding their own solutions. And you just facilitated a life-changing experience for people, but you let the oils and the tools do the work. It's awesome.
No, it's so good. And what we heard, so many times at convention, is that people use our book right next to their scanner, because it gives the depth and understanding. They said a lot of times people won't quite resonate with everything that was done, and when they read the book, they've got it. They understand why that came up on their scan. They understand the message it's trying to help them with. And so really, it's just this way of saying, the scanner is doing the work. You're not doing the work, but you're offering tools. So whether you're one-on-one or with a group or doing a scan, these things are just there to support you, to offer as much information as you can to try and help someone on their journey.
So I think we covered it. It really is that easy, right?
Yeah.
Just to go through and to find a solution. So tonight we talked about the TerraPad is finding solutions for everyday problems, and it's 50 sheets. 50 sheets in a TerraPad. And then, of course, we talked about the new 6th edition of the book and the
brand new cover this year. Brand new
cover. Still a sister to the one before, but all new. We're excited about all those beautiful new illustrations.
I know, I love them.
You didn't tell them all this cute. Sorry, I got excited about the illustrations. There's this fun new edition that we put in this year. If I can find it. Let's see if I can show it to you. It's just a quick little fun reference. We put it in for informational purposes, but also because, drawings, pretty pictures is great.
It's good.
But it actually helps you to identify which part of the plant the different essential oils come from. Some oils come from the leaves, some come from bark, some come from roots. So it's just, some additional information to help you understand the plant itself and where the essential oil is coming from. So the new book is also available, and then the wheel is also available at enlightenhealing.com. You're welcome to visit the website if you're interested in purchasing any of those. They're also sold together in sets. You can get the book and the wheel together if you're interested in that. And you will find some other fun new products on there as well. We just collaborated with the doTERRA Presidential Diamond from Australia, Vanessa Jean, who is an aromatherapist, and
she's amazing.
She's amazing. There's really no other way to describe her. She has a very special gift with oils, and also with blending oils. And so we worked with her to put together a couple of roll-of-all workshop kits, which are, again, bridge products. For us, it's just a way for us in Enlighten to help wellness advocates bring their clients and their customers just a little bit closer to them in terms of discussing emotional needs and emotional healing. And so they're awesome kits that we put together so that you can facilitate a quick rollerball class with 12 attendees. And we're very excited about those, but we want to keep you all night tonight. So we're going to do a follow-up webinar with Vanessa Jean here in a couple of weeks, where she's actually going to walk through the process of putting together one of those classes, and she will talk you through beginning to end. of what you need to set out on the tables and what you need to say as you move from blend to blend and how you talk about the oils and the potency of oils. It's going to be fantastic. Each of those oils comes with an affirmation, and we'll talk about the importance of affirmations and also some exercises to support you emotionally as you're using oils to really overcome some of the challenges that you have or bring some of these positive things to light. So follow us on Facebook and make sure that you check out the website. Again, all the products are available for purchase there. Make sure that you sign up for our newsletter. If you haven't done that already, you can always email us customer service at enlightenhealing.com. Ask to get on our mailing list, and we'll get you information about that, and we'll make sure to let you know about the next upcoming M3 webinar with Vanessa Jean in just a couple weeks. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Huge thank you to Amanda for bringing this to light. It's just a gift for me to be able to work with Enlighten and to see the difference that the essential oils make in the lives of people. So thank you for all the great work that you do.
Thank you. Love sharing it. Love
Yes.
It. So.
Thank you to all of you who participated tonight. We appreciate you. I hope this is helpful to you and that you'll be able to be a blessing to somebody else today as well. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.